Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Monte Zone. Let's turn that music off. And there we go. Hopefully, we are live. We're online. We're on YouTube. So welcome to the Monte Zone. This is going to be hopefully a monthly, if we can arrange the time between our busy schedules, to get together to discuss some interesting things that we find in the world of the weird, the sort of semi-paranormal in archaeology, or if we decide that we're actually going to actually talk about Star Trek, if our relationship as friendship will survive that in a stream. We might talk about that at some point. But I'm joined tonight by my co-host, G-Star. Good evening, G-Star.
Good evening.
Hi.
Hi, everyone. What's up?
How the devil are you?
I'm good. I've just had a beautiful steak pie.
From Marks and Spencer's, no less.
Yeah. Taste. Oh no, I was about to say taste the difference, but that's Sainsbury's. I can't remember the Marks and Spencer's one now. Marks and Spencer's. What is it? Oh, it's gone.
It's not just any steak pie. It's Marks and Spencer's steak pie.
It's Marks and Spencer's steak pie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just going to close the door to the kitchen. I'll be back. Just because I was hearing you double.
I feel all disconnected now.
Oh, you feel it's all right. We'll be fine. We'll get through this.
Yeah.
Hi Dee, good to have you here. Can you confirm, as you've confirmed you're online, that you can hear us okay? That the audio's fine? If you could just let us know in chat, that would be fantastic. As a sort of mic check. I've got to wait for several minutes, several seconds as that happens, because there's a delay on what goes out on YouTube. But yes. So I'm here with G-Star this evening, and the main talking points of our first live stream is going to be out of place objects. Yeah, she can hear us both. That's good news. Yes, so out of place objects. So these are things that have cropped up in archaeology digs or things people find lying around that don't fit the place, the pattern of where they're from, and there's a little or no explanation of what they are. And so yeah, that's going to be our talking point for this evening. So shall we, Mr. G-Star, get on with the first out of place object, or maybe the only out of place object if we can't think of anything else. We've not really prepared too well for this. But I do have a whacking great big glass of gin, so if nothing else happens this evening, I'm all right.
I have a distinctly average sized glass of wine.
Yeah, so what's our first thing there, G?
So it was basically the Wedge of Iron. I believe the correct pronunciation of it is the Wedge of Iron.
Well pronounced.
This is an object. I mean, this isn't new to the world of social media, but this is an object that it's basically currently stored in a museum in Transylvania. But it's not exhibited to the public. They actually have it, in a box in the back of their, museum. It's not, as I say, open for the public to see. And the reason for that is because they can't explain it. The Wedge of Iron is made of aluminium. As you can see by the pictures, it's got a lot of natural aging. I can't remember can you remember what they call that aging? It begins with a P. Anyway, so it's been carbon dated, and I think it's you were saying how old it was earlier, Mark. It
It was
was
35,000 years old. And
yeah, that's what it.
the main source of the dating was not just from the wedge, but from what it was found with. So it was found
Yeah,
with bones from a I can't remember the name of the animal, but basically a sort of ice age like animal that
yeah.
dated from those bones that it was with, dated it from around 35,000 years ago.
And the most significant thing about it is that it's made from aluminium. And for those of you that don't know, aluminium has only been in existence as we know it since I think it was the late 18th century was aluminium invented or
It
pulled
was
together.
it was discovered in the early 1800s, but it wasn't actually mass produced until 1885.
Hmm. So this object hasn't had a lot of exposure or people being able to study it. And the if you watch a few of the documentaries that are available online, most of the historians, their attitude towards it is, well, let's just put it in a box and hide it away because we can't explain it. Um, whereas in the last few years, there's been people who are investigating, these strange items and trying to kind of get a little bit more of an understanding of what it was, and to this day they still don't know what it's called. As we said at the top of the podcast, it's called the Wedge of Iron, but they don't know what it was exactly used for. There's a few theories. A couple of them I kind of think make sense and sort of add up. One of the theories is that if you imagine, you can see that hole in the picture, that if there was a leg going through that, or a steel pole, it could be used as a foot for a platform. That's one use of it. Or one theory is that it's part of a sort of ploughing mechanism. But it's super interesting, just the fact that it's carbon dated. You followed all those scientific investigations, which can't be faked.
Hmm.
When you look at the picture, you can see all the aging on the outside of it. And
The
as I said, I
patina.
can't remember what patina. That's it.
Hmm.
And patina cannot be reconstructed or faked. And so, therefore, the age of the item is definitely not under argument. Um, Science will back up that it is as old as they believe it is, but it's made of aluminium.
So
So
just put it into context. I have not been reading Wikipedia whilst you have been talking, but it was
yes, you
found.
have.
It was found. It was found on a riverbed, uh, um, 33 meters down. I think was it 33 meters, but it was found with mastodon bones, um, which is what has helped
And
date
we all
it.
love a good mastodon.
You more than most. Yes. 33 feet. It was found 30 foot, not meters, 33 feet underground with mastodon bones. And as you say, with that, it's very difficult to understand how something modern in aluminium got into that position with that patina at that depth, without any real industry or anything going on in that particular area.
Mm. What's also interesting is just the way in which, so as I started off by saying, it's in a museum, stored away in a museum in Transylvania, and it's not open and it's not exhibit to the public. And there's questions about whether there's been outside influences to kind of make sure that it isn't put out there and it isn't made available people to have a little bit. There's not a lot of people that know about this item. It's really low on the radar when you consider it's kind of quite a conundrum in the world of science. And I'm sure if there's people watching this podcast today will kind of be like, I've never heard of this. It's not something that's on the news. So that in itself creates a little bit of mystery. Why is there the suppression of not kind of making this a little bit more public, open, and allowing people to kind of study it and probe a little bit further as well?
Yeah, I have a theory.
Go on then, hit me with your
Do you
theory.
want to hear my theory? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it could be a piece of like some sort of time traveling mechanism, and a time traveler went back into near prehistoric times to have a mastodon barbecue. Ate some barbecued up some mastodons, and then zipped back to their own time, and unbeknownst to them, left a bit of their time machine behind. I'm just surmising, given the evidence that we've got so far.
Could be. I mean, if that's if you believe in the science of time travel is possible. Do you want to hear my theory?
Oh, please, yeah, I'd love to hear it.
Well, as I said, I assign to the fact that for me, when I look at it, it looks like a foot of a platform that you would use like landing gear. If you imagine a pole through that hole, that really looks like if you see certain craft that they use now, like NASA use now, to land like the lunar modules and stuff, they've got very similar kind of feet on them that would be used for sort of lunar landings. And it sort of fits within the kind of theory, as I said, that I'm not a 100% believer. I'm still in that process of investigating and taking in all the information. But if you assign to the theory that planets in our solar system or just outside our solar system have had life, intelligent life at some point or another, maybe we had visitation before humans were on this planet had visits from people from other planets before we were on this planet, and that's a little bit of a craft left behind, like a foot of a platform or a landing gear, because of the age of it. Like you said, it's when you were Wikipediaing, then did it confirm what the exact age of it is? It's carbon dated.
Well, you can't carbon date aluminium.
Ah.
No, so it's kind of circumstantial in what it was found with. Because it was embedded in 33 feet down of river sediment with mastodon bones. So it's that's kind of like really dates it.
But that aging that's on the coating of the object, which again I've forgotten the name of it. You mentioned it just a moment ago.
The Wedge of Aiud. What?
No.
The patina.
The patina.
Yeah.
That they can age. They can work out roughly how many years it would take for that much patina to coat that object.
It is unusual
So
for aluminium. You see, typically doesn't rust. It oxidizes, and you get like a white film on it. But typically, it doesn't degrade in the same sort of way that like iron and steel would, which is why it's used in why it's become so popular in use. So yes, it is. Now there are counter arguments. So to give a balanced view, because we don't know, we're just talking about this thing. The naysayers of anything extreme would say it's a tooth of a digger that probably was lost after they did digging after World War II, and it somehow found its way down, whether it got dug and stuck in there and didn't come back out, though I don't believe there's any evidence of digging actually where it was found, that that is in fact what it is. And the fact that it's made out of possibly early aluminium, that it's more prone to corrosion than, say, modern day aluminium, because of its makeup of its composite materials. Because aluminium is made up of a number of metals. So that's the counter argument.
Seems a bit of a far reach, that counter argument. Well, I'm not going to say whether it's a far reach or not, but then if that is something that's really plausible, then why is it to the point where historians and archaeologists are trying to keep it in a box and keeping it out of the way of the public, etc.? And, you know, as I said, you can go online and watch the documentaries, and even the historians are kind of like, we don't know what it is, we can't explain it. So, yeah. And you know, in that timeline that we're talking about, where aluminium, you know, was in use, I don't think they used it for diggers, did they? Around that time, like where we're talking about World War One, or
yes and no. There's no direct evidence, but people do use aluminium teeth in diggers when they're digging surface layer coal mines, because unlike iron or steel teeth, they won't cause sparks like they were. So whilst it's not an ideal material and it would wear out in no time at all, I would imagine, it has been known that people do use aluminium teeth for specific reasons. But again, you'd have to stack up, you know, well, 1940s, that area, coal mining, the use of aluminium teeth in a digger, finding its way 33 feet down in a dried riverbed, you know, in it. So yeah, you know, it could very much possibly be that. But you know, it's just one of those things that's not fully explained itself. So it's an interesting thing to look at and talk about.
well, it certainly fits the bill of what we said we were going to bring, which was mysterious, you know, artifacts. It definitely fits the bill of that. So, I mean, whichever argument or theory you assign yourself to, actually, at this point, none of them can be proven. None of what my theory is can be proven, and none of the digger theory can be proven. But, you know, it would help if they get it out of that box of that museum in Transylvania and allow a few more people to look at it. But apparently it's the government in the country as well that are suppressing it being sort of, you know, revealed, and, you know, they won't even lend it to other, you know, archaeologists and museums, and
No,
so that
it's
makes
just,
it really difficult to kind of get the answers.
It's hidden away in a non-marked box at the back of one of their storerooms.
So I think it was the first great one to bring to the play, you know,
And
that one.
anyone
go
out
off
there,
and watch the documentary.
yes, watch the documentary. Anyone out there that may have their theories on what it is, please put it in the chat, and we'd like to mention them and discuss them as well. If you have any ideas,
we can add the links afterwards to some of the key documentaries if you want to watch them and find out a little bit more as well.
I will put it in the description that will be down there later on. Down there.
Make sure you like and subscribe. Like and subscribe.
Always. That's always like and subscribe. Yes. Right. That's our first object. The next object is not quite as controversial as our first object, but it is the machinery. Oh gosh, I've got to say the words now. It's called the Antikythera mechanism. I'm not sure if I said that right. Antikythera mechanism. And so this was basically parts of a machine that are thought to be somewhere around 200 to 300 BC. So around sort of approaching 2,500 years old. And it looks to be some sort of clockwork mechanism, some part of some sort of rudimentary computer that probably calculated the time of year. It's like a astronomical calculator that worked out where you were in this cycle of equinoxes and things like that. It was discovered. Where was it discovered? I'm absolutely not reading Wikipedia at this point, but it was discovered. It was discovered off the coast of Greece. I'll just bring up a picture so you can all see it.
You'll notice that I'm not chipping in a lot here because actually I don't really know very much about this object, unfortunately. So I'm really interested to hear as much as you guys out there.
Yeah. Bear with me. I'm just going to bring up, hopefully, an image. There you go. That's what it looks like. So, yes, 2,500-year-old computer. It's like a bit of a cog part. A guy did. There's lots of pieces of it actually. That's just one piece. But it was basically hand powered. Then you would use a crank to sort of turn it, and a bit like you see in like sort of Victorian science, like people on like films where they have like clockwork astronomical devices with planets and things like that. It was a bit like a rudimentary version of that, which shown the phases of the moon and the cycles of the year, basically for things like calculating crop harvests and things like that. And this has been. Sorry.
Where did you say this was found?
It was found off the coast of Greece in 1901.
Right.
By near Symi, the island of Symi. It's Symi, near some shipwrecks. And yeah, they basically brought it, collected it up, and I think it's been in Rome ever since. But yeah, it's in total the whole piece is, I think they collected around 82 fragments of it. I've got a picture actually of a chap from 1983 who actually, taking all the fragments, rebuilt a model of it.
Wow, that'd be really interesting.
So let's have a look. Did that come out? Hopefully that came out.
It's really small. I can barely see it.
Oh, okay. Well, you can't see anything, can you? There you
go.
There he is. So you can see the bit that I shown you in the image was this this bit here. Oh, you can't see. There you go. That bit there.
That's really spooky because he kind of looks like me in about 20 years' time.
Well, he does have hair, so I'm not sure that's completely true.
Oh, that's so cheeky. It looks like a little bit like a clock, doesn't it? But that was kind of what you were sort of leaning towards, is that it sort of is a time device in terms of like what you were saying about crops and stuff like that.
Yeah. Bearing in mind that this is at a time when most cultures, so some cultures have barely invented the wheel, or
Yeah.
You can imagine that we were in straw huts, and there was this culture out here off the coast of Greece that was sophisticated enough to build an analog computer. Nearly 2,500 years ago. But it just goes to show how cultural evolution peaks and troughs, how you can have that level of sophistication in a culture, and 1,000 years later most of Western Europe are not even close to that.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder if there's been any investigation of whether it hails back to any sort of Egyptian connection, because I think, if I'm correct, where you're saying they found it, which was just off of Greece, yeah, which I presume it was in the ocean or at the bottom of the seabed. Is that where they found it?
Yes, yeah, they were
Yeah.
They were investigating some shipwrecks from around that time, and they just happened to
Hmm.
find it. So it was being transported by ship, um, probably from one of the islands to the mainland or something like that. And
So
they got into trouble.
this would have been right around the time that oh, what was that? So the Aegean, the stretch of when the Greek Empire was at its height, they were separated from Africa by the Aegean, I believe, or and you kind of had what was the name of the I don't want to say prophet. Um, I'm struggling for the
You're on
word.
your own on this one. I don't know.
Not a prophet. Plato. How would you term Plato? How would what
Yes, a philosopher.
he wasn't a philosopher, and there was apparently a philosopher that traveled from Greece to Egypt or to parts of Africa, and that's where some of the theories around things like Atlantis and the Hanging Gardens of Babylon have come from, because they're found in some of Plato's writings talking about Atlantis, and but a lot of that area that we now see as ocean between the landmass of South Europe, Greece, and Africa wasn't actually ocean. It was like plains, which desert plains, which people could walk from there to here, and maybe that's got some connection, that it sort of hails from sort of Egyptian, where there's already a lot of stuff that's been found where Egyptian civilization, from an engineering point of view, was very much more advanced than what we then found in the next sort of 500-600 years in human history.
They think it might have come from the Greek city of Pergamon, because
Love that word, Pergamon.
I don't know if I'm saying it right. Pergamon, because Pergamon had a lot of like philosophers and clever people, and they had the Library of Pergamon, which was second only to the Library of Alexandria, and it was also the home of Archimedes. And they think it all might be related to that area and him and their genius. But it's an interesting thing, because it does seem like the first thing. It seems on the face of it in 1901 when they dug it up, it didn't see the light of day for a long time, because they just thought it was a bit of naval navigation equipment or something that was like 20 or 30 years old or something. They didn't think it was 2,500 years old.
Yeah, not being funny, but when you see that the original picture that you showed at the start, it
Yeah.
does look like some sort
Oh.
of, as you say, like a kind of a part of a ship engineering, just a sort of cog wheel, etc. But that, I think, it must. If we're looking at the scale of that picture that the gentleman was stood next to, it's obviously quite small, and
It is,
and
yeah.
yeah, very interesting then.
Yes.
I mean, is it on display anywhere? Can you go and view it? Is it being studied by archaeologists?
I don't know. I don't know. I'll have. I'll find out and put it in the description.
Yeah, cool. Because that's where it would conflict against the first article that we were talking about. Because they're definitely quite kind of trying to suppress knowledge of that article, and that's why most people wouldn't know about it. Not article, artifact, sorry. And it'd be interesting to find out whether it's a similar situation with this, where it's just sitting in a box somewhere, or whether it is out there for the public to go and view and see.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting stuff. Shall we move on to our third thing?
Our third thing?
Our third thing. You're like, what third
Yeah.
thing? What
What is
else are
the
we talking
third
about?
thing?
Here we go. This is.
This could be a surprise.
This is.
It's not scary, is it?
Hey, no. This is the Babylon Nokia.
Oh my god!
This is a stone Nokia. Thought to be. It's like engraved in hieroglyphs, and it's thought. No, I'm kidding.
I was gonna say this is just like no.
I thought, have I convinced him? An ancient Nokia phone.
It's everything that we've just been talking about.
This was
No, this has been proven to be fake, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, it's not fake because it's not. It was never supposed to be. It's a work of art developed by a Swedish artist in the mid 1990s or late 1990s. This was actually a photo from when it was auctioned off at Sotheby's in the early noughties. Part of his collection of works of art, but it's the image is used all over the internet to as proof. Even the Express in around 2001 ran a whole story about it, how they found this stone Nokia from 200 BC or something like that.
Crap journalism. Journalism. You can imagine people jumping on the bandwagon. It's an easy story, isn't it? And it does look effective when you look at the photo, but I think, it's silly concept, really.
Yeah. So that's all I've really got lined up from my side of things. Just looking at chat. Oh yeah, LJ's.
I can't see the chat.
Hey, it should be on. It should be on the right hand side of your screen.
No, I've gone to comments and I can see private chat, but I can't see anybody saying anything.
Oh, you can't. Oh, okay. Well, I'll fix it for next time. LJ says like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon.
Hit the bell, ding ding.
Yeah. Oh, Dion's helped us out with Oracle. So
Oracle,
not profit, or not profit, not philosopher. Oracle.
Oracle, okay.
Oracle. That's.
I started to think of teletext. And you remember from the days of teletext and Oracle?
Yeah.
You used to have on the TV when you had channels 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah. LJ says, "Look, it's your first phone." I think he's saying you're older than from 500 BC.
Actually, my first phone did look like that. It looked like a brick. So yeah, it was bigger than my hand. Yeah, so hopefully next time, one thing that I would like to talk about is, as I was looking into a little bit earlier this evening, is the Mars Rover, some of the imagery. From there, we can sort of delve into some of the more interesting things that because again, what I really like about that subject matter is that, those photographs were taken by NASA. They're not taken by some whack job trying to make a quick, journalist story.
Hold on, what do you mean, NASA photos?
Well, they're from the pictures from the rover.
Which one? What are you doing?
Well, there's a mixture. So you've got up to as late as 2020, I think, this year, Mars rover imagery that's come back from Mars.
All right, can you give me a specific example? Do you know of one?
No, but I mean, if you go on YouTube and just put Mars rover images, that's what I was watching earlier on.
Okay.
And there was lots of, because there's a lot of just people studying those imageries, and then because they're out in the public domain, and they're popping things out of there that kind of put a big question mark, and you can put a big circle around it and say, well, what is that?
Yeah.
A couple of them have been instantly disproven because of scientific things that you can't achieve. Like, for example, there was one where it looks like a fossil of a fish, but already science has proven, and NASA will chip in and say no, and they'll give an explanation of it. But there's a couple that still have that big question mark of it. So it'd be nice on our next podcast to maybe delve into that a little bit more,
Okay.
and then from that there will be loads of imagery for us to share as well.
Cool. Well, thank you for joining me on our first live stream of the Monty Files.
The Monty Files.
Yeah, that's what I called it. Well, I thought,
Okay.
like the X Files, but with Montalban. It was genius. It took me about 3 minutes this afternoon thinking that up. So, join us next time. Thank you, G.
No worries.
Cheers, everyone.
Hope the two people that are watching have really enjoyed it.
It'll get more views, don't you worry.
Yeah, definitely. Good content. Good content. Really interesting.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everyone.
Can't wait to see you next time.
Cheers.